Part 31. The Wood-type superpower who is reborn in the apocalypse. Author, Kiji Now. Chapter 302. There are a total of 20 fields here. Cutting rice, threshing rice, and transporting rice for drying, and storage all require a lot of manpower. Li Feng was stunned. Didn't you hear that clearly? Len Ning turned to look at Li Feng, with a look of displeasure on his brows. She thought he was serious just now, but now he was acting so awkwardly. Yes, Li Feng said quickly. Then he ran away in a hurry. Seeing that Li Feng was running, the displeasure on Len Ning's face finally disappeared. He still understands a little bit. Then he began to activate his spiritual power, causing the straw in the field in front of him to grow and then pollinate. 5 minutes later, the rice is pollinated. Len Ning then continued to stimulate the growth of rice straw, causing them to produce ears of rice. By the time Li Feng came with the workers, the rice fields were already covered with ears of rice. But Len Ning didn't stop. He waited until the rice ears reached their most mature state before giving up. Arrange for them to collect the rice, store it in space jade, and send it to the back mountain to dry, Len Ning said, and threw 2 space jade to Li Feng. Yes, Li Feng said quickly. Back mountain? He hasn't been to back mountain yet. When things here are arranged, he has to find someone to ask questions quickly. Len Ning glanced at Li Feng and continued to grow rice in another field. Li Feng hurriedly made arrangements for the division of labor among the 100 people he brought, fearing that his deployment would not be able to keep up with Len Ning's pace. Len Ning concentrated on his work and left all the logistics work to Li Feng with confidence. After all the rice in the 20 fields has been grown, they continue to grow the straw piles that had been cut by the workers before. This is the power of wood-type superpowers. After the straw is cut once, the wood-type superpowers can stimulate the straw piles to sprout again and continue to grow rice. Through experience in his previous life, Len Ning knew that rice seedlings can be harvested for up to 3 crops after being planted. In other words, planting rice once, through her operation, is equivalent to harvesting 60 fields of rice at one time. Based on the output of each field of 1,500 kilograms, she harvested 90,000 kilograms of rice from 3 crops at once. Converted into tons, it is 45 tons. The paddy is treated and processed to yield approximately 34 tons of rice. At the same time, the remaining chaff can be used to feed livestock, which is a double benefit. The eldest brother is worried about the chicken and duck factory, and is waiting for her to get food to supply there. In addition, rice is high in carbohydrates and makes you hungry. The soldiers must have welcomed him very much. She wanted to send the rice to the military headquarters immediately, but the manual steps in the middle did not allow it. Processing rice into rice requires a variety of processes, which is very cumbersome. It's a pity that it's the early days of the apocalypse, and many of the equipment she wants have not yet been developed. For now, workers can only use the most primitive methods to process the rice. About 4 hours later, Len Ning finally finished 3 rounds of promoting rice fields. Just as he was about to take a break and eat something, he saw Li Feng bringing food to him. Miss Li Feng saluted Len Ning and quickly started putting fruits on the small table. Glancing at the fruit Li Feng brought, Len Ning curled her lips. No need to prepare these for me. Then he took out several kinds of fruits from his space ring. Grapes, apples, bananas, pears. Len Ning took out a lot of fruits, and each one was big and fresh. The wood-type superpower who is reborn in the apocalypse. Author, Kiji Now. Chapter 303. Comparing the fruits that Li Feng brought with hers, they were simply not on the same level. Li Feng felt embarrassed for a moment, and he didn't know where to put his hands and feet. You have been working hard for a long time. You can eat these fruits, Len Ning said calmly. Producing these 3 crops of rice took a lot of mental energy from her. Right now, I actually want to eat some food to replenish my energy. It's a pity that she actually forgot to ask the chef at home to make some extra dishes for her to put in the space ring. Li Feng was startled. Give him these fruits may be worth a lot of money when taken outside. Little miss, what do you want to eat? I'll get it. The joy in Li Feng's heart only lasted for 3 seconds before disappearing. He is now the lady's assistant, and he should put the lady first in everything. The young lady was obviously dissatisfied with the food he brought, so he had to find a way to solve the problem instead of happily taking the young lady's reward. In this case, his job will definitely not last long. Len Ning glanced at Li Feng. I want to eat. Is the canteen at the base open? She had asked Lu Wenhua to expand the size of the canteen before, but she didn't know what the situation is now. It's open. Miss, do you want to go to the cafeteria? Li Feng's eyes showed a hint of joy. Len Ning was stunned. Forget it. It's all vegetables, and I won't have any appetite after eating it. A glimmer of interest arose in my heart, but it disappeared in an instant. I said hello to Chef Zhang earlier, and I can open a small stove over there. Just, in terms of ingredients. Li Feng looked at Len Ning and said sheepishly. He had thought about these things early on. A lady with a status like this must eat differently from them. It's just that although he wanted to arrange this matter for the lady, the funds in the institute were limited, and meat ingredients were extremely difficult to buy. It was really difficult for a clever woman to make a meal without straw. Len Ning's eyes lit up. The ingredients are simple. Come here. Seeing Len Ning smiling at him, 2 red clouds appeared on Li Feng's face. Then he walked up to Len Ning. Len Ning suddenly took out 2 fish and a piece of bacon from his space ring and handed them to Li Feng. Li Feng was shocked. He quickly took it and put the supplies into the space jade that Len Ning gave him. Immediately afterwards, Len Ning found some side dishes and related seasonings and handed them to Li Feng. I'll go to the wheat base to breed a crop of wheat. When the food is ready, you can bring it to me directly, Len Ning said and stood up. At 5 o'clock in the afternoon, she had to go to the military headquarters to help Blue Snake and one of his men advance, so she could only seize the time to do more things. Yes, Li Feng quickly agreed. Then he turned around and ran towards the base canteen. Looking at Li Feng's proactive attitude, a smile appeared on Len Ning's face unconsciously. Old man Lu still has some vision, so this assistant is okay. After calming down, Len Ning left the rice area and went to the wheat field area. The situation here is the same as in the previous rice area. The wheatgrass is just promoted before flowering and pollination. Taking a breath, Len Ning began to release his mental power. The wheatgrass grows rapidly and the pollination process begins. Then the wheat straw began to ear again, and the wheat grains gradually became plump. Then the wheat straw turned yellow and dried. Finally, when Len Ning stopped, the entire wheat field was covered with golden wheat ears. Taking a breath, Len Ning walked towards the next wheat field. Len Ning concentrated on releasing his mental power and familiarly mobilizing his wood power. His body was a little tired, but his spirit was excellent. Finally, after she finished the 5th wheat field, Li Feng came back. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The wood-type superpower who is reborn in the apocalypse. Author, Kiji Now. Chapter 304. Miss, I have kept you waiting for a long time. Li Feng hurriedly ran towards Len Ning with a smile on his face, which made people feel inexplicably in a good mood. After taking out the food and putting it on the small table, Li Feng began to arrange food for Len Ning again. Smelling the delicious aroma of the food, Li Feng spent a lot of effort to steady himself. Seeing Li Feng setting up the meal, Len Ning stood aside and sat down. After working for a long time, Len Ning was really hungry, so Len Ning immediately used his chopsticks. Gilu, gilu. Suddenly, Len Ning heard the sound of Li Feng's stomach growling. You haven't eaten, Len Ning frowned and looked up at Li Feng. She has been idle for most of the day, and Li Feng's condition is not much better. He had been running up and down arranging things, but he never took a breath. Even now, looking at his red face and sweaty appearance, he might have run all the way here. Li Feng looked embarrassed and a little embarrassed. It's true that he hasn't eaten yet. The materials the lady gave him were too precious. In order to prevent the chefs from messing around, he watched them prepare the dishes. Later, he was afraid that the lady would be hungry, so he came over with prepared meals. Sit down and eat together. Len Ning glanced at Li Feng and said calmly. It's a good thing to be serious about your work, but you don't need to be serious about it. Or was he too strict and scared him, so he was so serious and didn't dare to slack off? Li Feng was shocked. No, 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 Miss Dash, she quickly refused. How dare he eat at the same table as the lady? Sit down if I ask you to. After eating, there is still a lot to do, Len Ning said with some impatience. Li Feng was stunned. Yes, thank you, miss. Then he quickly bowed and thanked Len Ning. Then, sit down. Len Ning glanced at Li Feng and took out a pair of bowls and chopsticks from his space ring. Serve it yourself. Then he pushed the bowls and chopsticks in front of Li Feng. Yes, Li Feng held back his excitement and began to serve the rice. Before coming here, everyone said that the young lady had a cruel temper. She had forced people to death in the mercenary union before, and later they even said that she was bold enough to challenge Mr. Lei. But after spending a long time with the lady, he found that the real lady was completely different from the rumors. The coldness is just her outward appearance. The real lady is actually an extremely kind and caring person. Thinking that he could work with the young lady for a long time in the future, Li Feng felt a faint joy in his heart. Eat this. Seeing that Li Feng had never touched meat dishes, Len Ning pointed to the pot of boiled fish with his chopsticks. She couldn't finish such a big pot. Yes. Thank you, Miss, Li Feng said touchedly. Then he picked up a piece of fish and put it in the bowl. Eating the extremely delicious fish, Li Feng's eyes twinkled. A poisonous fog turned his family into zombies. He hid alone in a small supermarket for nearly a month before he was discovered by the rescue team from the Thunder base and came here. During the process, he couldn't bear it and wanted to commit suicide several times, but because of cowardice, he did not dare to end his life. Fortunately, he persisted. Now he has come to the Thunder base, has a high-paying job, and is working under a good boss. Len Ning ignored Li Feng, who was eating gracefully, and quickly picked up the rice, quickly ending the battle. You can deal with the rest. Don't waste it. After standing up, Len Ning glanced at Li Feng, who seemed to have anorexia. Although he looks baby-faced, he is still in his 20s after all. How could he look so delicate after eating a meal? The Wood-type superpower who is reborn in the apocalypse. Author, Kge Now. Chapter 305. I don't know how to seize the opportunity to eat more good nutritional supplements. He's such a skinny guy with thin arms and legs, so don't get tired following him. Len Ning curled his lips, did not look at Li Feng, and walked towards the wheat field that he had not given birth to before. After Len Ning left, Li Feng felt relaxed. Then the speed of picking up food and swallowing began to increase. It was delicious, so delicious that it made him want to cry. Len Ning went all the way to the edge of the wheat field that had not been regenerated and began to continue to regenerate wheat grass. Unlike straw, wheat straw can only be harvested once sown. Fortunately, because there were limited places to dry food in the back mountains, Len Ning didn't plan to sell too many snacks at once. One harvest is almost enough. Once she has finished growing the wheat, she can start growing other vegetables. Since she is here today, she must meet the military's demand for vegetables tomorrow. After eating, Len Ning felt that his whole body was full of strength again and began to continue to use his mental power. When she finished inducing growth in 5 more wheat fields, the workers arranged by Li Feng arrived. The workers harvested and threshed wheat in an orderly manner, and everyone's face was filled with joy. The young lady is really awesome. With her here, the food supply problem of Thunder Base will be solved soon. At 3:30 in the afternoon, Len Ning finally finished the wheat birth. Then, he asked Li Feng to go with him to the sweet potato field. Producing sweet potatoes is much simpler and consumes relatively less mental energy. This time Li Feng directly mobilized 200 workers to cooperate with Len Ning in collecting and sorting sweet potato vines, leaves and sweet potatoes. Although the workload is huge, there are so many people, and the workers can almost cooperate with Len Ning's work. After working for an hour, Len Ning felt almost done. Later, he went to induce bean seeds in a field and asked workers to collect the seeds and use them to induce the growth of bean sprouts for other people with powers. After doing this, it was already 4:50. You get off work later today and let the workers pack up all the goods and inventory them before handing them over to the military department, Len Ning said to Li Feng as he walked towards the main road. Yes, please don't worry, Miss Li Feng said quickly. Remember to make a count of the quantity. I'll take a look at it tomorrow, Len Ning said and stopped. Yes. Len Ning glanced at Li Feng again. Go and do your work. There's no need to follow me. I made an appointment with Brother Lan at 5 o'clock. There's not much time now. I have to go. Yes, miss, walk slowly, Li Feng said quickly. Len Ning raised the corner of his mouth and turned to leave. Walking in the fields, Len Ning was in a good mood. Today she gave birth to a lot of food and crops, and she should be able to complete it soon after agreeing to her eldest brother's conditions. Walking at a relaxed pace, Len Ning left the vegetable base and went all the way to the military headquarters. With the work card given by Lei Lei and her own face, which is now very famous in the military, Len Ning successfully arrived at the martial arts field. Seeing Len Ning coming, Lan Shi immediately smiled on her face. He and his men have been waiting here for a long time. But seeing that it was past 5 o'clock, the lady never showed up, and I was worried. Fortunately, it was just a false alarm. The people behind Blue Snake also followed suit and saluted Len Ning with clasped fists. Brother Lan, I'm sorry. There's a lot going on at the vegetable base. I'm a little late. Looking at the time, Len Ning found that he was 10 minutes late, and he looked a little embarrassed. It's okay. The vegetable base is related to the lifeblood of our entire Thunder base, and it's more important. There was a smile on the blue face. Just come and do it. The wood-type superpower who is reborn in the apocalypse. Author, Kiji Now. Chapter 306. Thank you for your understanding, Len Ning said with a smile on his face. Let's get started without wasting time. Len Ning said and released Xiaoman from the consciousness space. Seeing a stick suddenly appear in Len Ning's hand, Blue Snake and his men were shocked at the same time. Blue Snake had seen Xiaoman before, and now he was really happy and scared to see him again. Xiaoman is a being who can rival their boss in strength, and he will eat people when he is mad. Which one of you comes first? Len Ning asked the two of them. Blue Snake's men immediately looked at Blue Snake. A flash of struggle flashed across the Blue Snake's face. I'll go first. Then he said in a deep voice. He was a little scared in his heart, but no one could take this battle for him. He had to fight it himself. As one of the four color groups, only by improving his strength can he sit firmly as the leader of the hall with peace of mind. At the same time, he ensures that his subordinates will not be embarrassed in front of other hall masters. Okay, Len Ning nodded to Blue Snake. Xiaoman, then he shouted sharply. Xiaoman, who was just a stick just now, immediately pulled out the vines and rushed towards the Blue Snake. Blue Snake almost didn't react and was almost hurt by Xiaoman. Fortunately, he quickly adapted to the situation and immediately started fighting with Xiaoman. Len Ning controlled Xiaoman and adjusted Xiaoman's attack rhythm according to the Blue Snake's strength, allowing Xiaoman to consume the Blue Snake's strength. You can speed up the pace once again, avoiding Xiaoman's attack. Blue Snake seized the opportunity and said to Len Ning. He could feel that although Xiaoman kept attacking him, he didn't want to hurt him, and he didn't have any killing intention. Such a battle is probably of little significance. Len Ning also discovered the problem. Okay. Then you have to hold still then, he said in a deep voice. Then, Len Ning suddenly activated his mental power, causing Xiaoman to grow that huge flower disc. As soon as his image changed, Xiaoman's temperament instantly became dangerous. The viscous juice began to fall towards the blue snake, and soon the whole body of the blue snake was wet. Seeing this situation, Blue Snake's men's legs trembled unconsciously. That vine really turned into a piranha. This thing looks dozens of times more terrifying than what the hall master and those people said. If a person doesn't dodge in time, will he really become its food? Blue Snake suppressed the nausea in his heart and began to gather strength to continue avoiding Xiaoman's attack. After several consecutive attempts, the Blue Snake began to have more and more difficulty in evading. But Len Ning still felt that Xiaoman seemed to have lost his energy and was not training the Blue Snake seriously. Knock him out and reward him with a 21st order crystal core in order to improve efficiency, Len Ning threw out the reward. Blue Snake and Blue Snake's men. Is the lady negotiating conditions with this plant? Just when the two of them were confused, Xiaoman suddenly changed. He changed his meek and relaxed image, and suddenly became fierce. He even started to extend vines to attack Blue Snake, and used the vines to torture him mercilessly. 3 minutes later, Xiaoman finally had enough of playing with the Blue Snake, and directly wrapped the vines around the Blue Snake's body, and then the huge flower plate leaned down. Blue Snake's eyes widened as he tried to break free from the vines, but in vain. Finally, a stench hit him. The hearts of Blue Snake's men seemed to have stopped beating, and they were all frightened on the spot, unable to move. A Blue Snake shouted. Finally, he forcibly broke the vines wrapped around his body, and then flew up and stumbled to stand opposite Xiaoman. Seeing Xiaoman's flower plate coming towards him again, Blue Snake hurriedly shouted to Len Ning, "Miss, stop. Stop. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment." The Wood-type superpower who is reborn in the apocalypse. Author, Kiji Now. Chapter 307. Len Ning quickly used his mental power to make Xiaoman stop. Xiaoman's huge flower plate shook, and then turned to look at Len Ning. "Didn't it make you faint with fear?" This man looked very energetic. Len Ning ignored Xiaoman and looked directly at Blue Snake. "Is it really possible?" he asked with some disbelief. "Look at that pale face. Don't lie to yourself that you've hit the bottleneck because you're scared and don't dare to continue, right?" Okay, Blue Snake said with a somewhat irritated look. "I want to concentrate on breaking through the second order bottleneck in one fell swoop." Len Ning curled his lips. "Okay, next one then said." Then, he turned around and looked at the subordinate brought by Blue Snake. Xiaoman and Len Ning had the same idea, and he also turned the flower plate to look at the subordinate. The face of the hand turned pale, and the legs actually started to tremble. "Come here," Len Ning said impatiently. "Wasn't it just a fight with Xiaoman? As for being shaken like this?" The hand trembled and he immediately looked at the Blue Snake sitting not far away who had entered a meditative state. After much hesitation, he finally became cruel to himself. Yes. Their hall masters are all here, so how can he back down? If he retreats today, what will the hall master think of him in the future, and how should his colleagues and brothers under him think of him? Might as well fight. If you're lucky, you might reach level 3, and you'll be a hero if you make it through. Thinking of this, the subordinate finally stepped forward bravely. "It's begun," Len Ning curled his lips and said. Then he commanded Xiaoman to start attacking the subordinate. Looking at Xiaoman's horrible and disgusting flower disc heading towards him, he felt that his heart was about to jump out of his chest. He quickly suppressed the fear in his heart and narrowly avoided Xiaoman's attack. But his skill is obviously not as good as Blue Snake. Even Blue Snake can't avoid Xiaoman. How could he do it? In less than half a minute, this subordinate was teased by Xiaoman and was covered in stinky juice. Then Xiaoman played nice tricks on him again. It wasn't until the subordinate was almost exhausted that Xiaoman opened his face and walked toward the subordinate, as if he wanted to eat him alive. The subordinate's eyes widened and almost popped out. It was at this time that he finally came into contact with the third-level bottleneck. Xiao the man just opened his mouth, ready to call for help to Lenning, but Xiaoman's juice happened to flow into his mouth. The bitter and foul smell suddenly flooded into his mouth, and the man immediately started retching. Xiaoman couldn't understand the man's movements and was about to continue to scare and torment the man, but was stopped by Lenning. Later, Lenning used his mental power to take Xiaoman back. She took 40 crystal nuclei from the space ring and rewarded her spiritual pet. Seeing Xiaoman happily eating crystal cores, Lenning felt very good. "I've finished my work. I wish you good luck with the rest." After saying that, Lenning turned around and left. Blue Snake and his men were sprinting to the third level with all their strength and didn't pay attention to Lenning's words. Lenning left the martial arts field, then left the military headquarters and returned home. The days passed quietly like this. In the next few days, Lenning successfully fulfilled his promise to Lei and directly increased the grain and vegetable production of the vegetable base. Lei was also very generous. In accordance with his previous promise to Lenning, he formally signed the document and gave Lenning half of the shares in the vegetable base. Lenning was very excited after receiving the shares and began to continue upgrading and reforming the vegetable base. The wood-type superpower who is reborn in the apocalypse. Author, Kiji Now. Chapter 308. In addition to personnel arrangement and configuration, they also sent tasks to the Mercenary Union, proposing to purchase electrical equipment and large tools for processing grains at high prices. At the same time, Lenning also successively helped the 4 Hall Masters advance from the peak of the second level to the third level. In the next half-month, Zhengpeng and Li Qiang of the Manman team also advanced to the third level with the help of Lenning. And the members of the Wolf Fang mercenary group are also growing very fast. After Sun Qi offered to take the whole team to join the Manman team, Lenning also helped Liang Hui and others who had reached the peak of the second level to reach the third level. For a time, many third-level powerhouses appeared in the Thunder Base, and the Thunder Base became stronger and stronger. During these days at the Lenning Vegetable Base, Manman Team, Sun Qi and others were not idle either. According to Lenning's instructions, they took the third-level superpowers on missions every day, and they were extremely dangerous missions. Of course, killing zombies is not the most important thing, but searching for space jade that may be left behind in the bustling shopping malls before the apocalypse. Or other materials that are relatively scarce in the Thunder Base. With so many powerful third-level superpowers acting together, the result is naturally foolproof and they bring back a large amount of valuable materials. This makes the 4 Hall Masters extremely envious. They had agreed to allow their third-level superpowers to coordinate with the Manman team on a mission. Naturally, they would not be able to get a single point from these fruits of victory. On this day, Lei was having a meeting with the 4-color group and other important members of the base in the military conference room. Knock, knock, knock. Suddenly there was a knock on the door. Lei, who was talking about the key point, frowned. "Come in." Then he said in a deep voice. He had told his secretary earlier that he was not allowed to disturb him unless there was something important. Now that it's here, it must be extremely important. When the door opened, the secretary saw that all the big guys in the conference room were looking at him, and his expression suddenly became tense. "What's the matter?" Lei asked in a deep voice. The secretary quickly came to his senses, walked up to Lei, and handed him the information in his hand. Then he lowered his voice and said to Lei, "What was sent from the laboratory is the final report on the juice of the young lady's spiritual pet." Lei was stunned. He took the information immediately and flipped through it quickly. After quickly understanding the information, he received the information into his space ring. That's it for today's meeting. Come back at 9 o'clock tomorrow morning to continue the discussion, Lei said directly to the meeting staff. Then he directly stepped forward and left the meeting room. Everyone. After leaving the military headquarters, Lei rushed to Lei's house. Xiaoning said last night that she was going to give herself a day off. She should be at Lei's house at the moment. Entering Lei's house, everyone saluted and said hello to Lei. "Where is Xiaoning?" Lei asked when he met Yang Meijun in the hall. Yang Meijun was stunned. In the room, then he replied stiffly. It has been a while since she came to Thunder Base, and this was the first time that the young master took the initiative to talk to her. When Lei Ting had already gone up the stairs, Yang Meijun suddenly realized something was wrong. "Miss, what Miss said earlier was to go back and take a shower and sleep, but now she is probably ready to go to bed." But looking at the young master's appearance, it seems that he really has something urgent to do to see the young lady. Forget it, they are brothers and sisters anyway, so it doesn't matter. Thinking of this, Yang Meijun gave up the idea of stopping Lei Ting. Len Ning's room. Len Ning had just come out of the shower and was getting ready to dry her hair before going to bed. The wood-type superpower who is reborn in the apocalypse. Author, Kiji Now. Chapter 309. Knock, knock, knock. At this time, there was a knock on the door. Len Ning didn't think much, thinking it was Aunt Yang who came to deliver cut fruits to herself. "The door is not closed, come in then," he said. Lei outside the door was stunned. "I didn't think much about it." Unscrewing the door handle and entering Len Ning's room. The beautiful scenery he saw immediately stunned him on the spot. I saw that Len Ning was only wearing a bath towel. Because he had just taken a bath, his already rosy face looked even more gorgeous. The exposed skin is so white and tender that it seems like it can ooze water. Not hearing any movement behind him, Len Ning finally noticed something unusual. Looking back, he saw Lei standing at the door, looking at him unblinkingly. Len Ning's face suddenly panicked, and she subconsciously covered her chest. But as soon as he made a move, his heart suddenly moved again. "Brother, what do you want from me?" Then he let go of his hand on his chest and said to Lei Ting with a smile. Thunder's original sense of return suddenly became chaotic again. "Ha!" Len Ning laughed out loud. "Brother, come in later, you put on your clothes first." Lei hurriedly forced himself to regain consciousness, then quickly exited the door and closed the door. The smile on Len Ning's face froze. I suddenly felt a little disappointed in my heart. Brother, does he really only think of himself as his sister? Pulling off the bath towel and taking a look at her not so voluptuous body, Len Ning felt a little inferior for the first time. At the same time, I made up my mind to find a way to grow more flesh in certain places. Thunder outside the door seemed to have a fire burning in his heart. The act of exiting the room just now was all due to his reason forcing his body to execute it, otherwise he really couldn't guarantee that he would do something terrible. Xiaoning, do you really trust me so much?" After clenching his fist, Thunder finally chose to let go. "Brother, I'm ready." "Come in." At this time, Len Ning's voice came from the room again. Lei was startled. After calming down the chaotic emotions in my heart again, I unlocked the door and walked in. At this time, Len Ning had already changed into a set of casual home clothes, and there was a dry towel on his shoulder, which was obviously used to wipe his hair. "Brother," Len Ning greeted Lei Ting. Then he picked up the hairdryer on the table and was about to turn on the switch. Suddenly his eyes flashed and he had some thoughts in his mind. "I'm a little tired. "Brother, can you help me blow dry my hair?" then he said with a bit of coquettishness. Then, without waiting for Lei Ting to react, Len Ning handed the hair dryer directly to Lei Ting. Her eldest brother also blew her hair when she was little. It's just that those things have been in the past for a long time. Lei Ting was stunned on the spot. Len Ning's face fell, thinking that Lei Ting wouldn't help, so he could only prepare to do it himself. But I saw him suddenly coming forward. "Sit down," Lei Lei said, grabbing the hair dryer from Len Ning's hand. A smile appeared on Len Ning's face and he sat down in cooperation. Lei Lei immediately started blow-drying Len Ning's hair. "Move gently and carefully." For convenience, Len Ning cut off his long hair after the end of the world, so it was quite easy to blow it. "Let's keep our hair long from now on," Lei Lei said suddenly. There was a hint of distress in his tone. Len Ning was startled. "Short hair would be neater, wouldn't it?" he then asked. "Does eldest brother like girls with long hair? Long hair is so difficult to take care of." Len Ning pouted. Then a hint of cunning suddenly flashed in his eyes. "If I grow long hair, would you like to help me take care of it?" You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Wood-type superpower who is reborn in the apocalypse. Author, Ki Now. Chapter 310. Lei Lei was stunned. "Haha, I'm kidding you. You have to blow dry your sister-in-law's hair from now on." "How come it's my turn?" Before Lei Ting could speak, Len Ning suddenly said again. She wanted to test her eldest brother's feelings, but she was still timid. Thinking that the eldest brother might actually blow dry his future wife's hair in the future, Len Ning suddenly felt sour in his heart. At this moment, Lei Lei's nervous heart suddenly became distracted. "There will be no sister-in-law then," he said in a deep voice. "He only has her in his heart, how could he accept other women?" Len Ning felt happy for a moment, but only for a moment became worried again. What makes her happy? When the eldest brother says this, it is very likely that he does not like women. What to do? Although she doesn't have to worry about a female rival for the time being, what if a male rival appears? She thought that in the future, her eldest brother might bring a man back and ask her to call her sister-in-law. She will collapse. "Brother, you have to consider my and my mother's emotions. Women are, after all, better than men." Len Ning couldn't hold it back after all, and said to Lei Lei. Rather than letting her eldest brother like a man, she would rather he find a normal woman to marry. Even if that woman is not her. "But, I still feel so sad when I think about it." Lei Lei frowned. "As I said last time, I'm not interested in men then," he said in a deep voice. Len Ning. After drying his hair, Lei Lei turned off the hair dryer, unplugged it, and put the hair dryer in the box. Xiao Ning. After doing all this, Lei Lei walked up to Len Ning. "Brother, don't you have something to do with me?" Len Ning asked before Lei Ting could speak. There was no way. She was really afraid of hearing something from her eldest brother that she didn't want to hear. Lei Ting finally made up his mind to tell Len Ning directly what was in his heart, and now he swallowed it again. Then he took out the document given to him by his secretary from his space ring. Len Ning looked at Lei Lei and took the document in confusion. Then I started reading. This is the final report from the laboratory. Xiao Man's scientific name should be Tian Tian swallowing vine, which is a prehistoric plant that was originally extinct, Lei Lei said. Len Ning looked at the introduction to Tian Tian vine in the document and found that it was indeed consistent with Xiaoman's situation. It is highly regenerative, has animal habits, the flower disc resembles a piranha, etc. According to the information, the sky-swallowing vine and the dinosaurs came from the same era and were the only existence on the blue star that could compete with the dinosaurs at that time. Whether it is a dinosaur or any other large wild animal, as long as it enters the territory of the sky-swallowing vine, it often never comes back, and directly becomes the meal of the sky-swallowing vine or becomes the nutrient of the land where it lives. Unfortunately, in a natural disaster, both the dinosaurs and the sky-swallowing vine were all wiped out. Later generations can only infer their existence from some fossil remains. Even for the sky-swallowing vine, the evidence supporting its existence is even weaker and can almost be said to be just speculation. Because plants are somewhat different from animal bones, plants are more likely to be carbonized into coal, making it difficult to identify the type. The people in the military laboratory were highly regarded biological experts before the end of the world. They came to this conclusion after repeatedly reviewing the data. This data is extremely accurate. Thinking of this, Len Ning felt a little uneasy. Because the information also says that the sky-swallowing vine is extremely cruel and extremely aggressive towards animals. And as the tien-swallowing vine grows older, its aggressiveness and cruelty will become stronger and stronger. The wood-type superpower who is reborn in the apocalypse. Author, Ki Now. Chapter 311. At this moment, Len Ning also wanted to understand why after she reached the 4th level, she obviously felt that Xiaoman had more and more violent energy trapped in her sea of consciousness. In a sense, promotion also represents growth like the increase of years. Xiaoman will become more and more powerful and dangerous. Xiaoning Lei put his hand on Len Ning's shoulder with a worried look on his face. Xiaoman is very well behaved and won't cause trouble, Len Ning said quickly before Lei Ting could finish. Besides, even those scientists before the end of the world have not fully deduced the existence of the sky-swallowing vine, and they can only speculate on the temperament of the sky-swallowing vine, Len Ning continued, speaking in a loud voice. I don't know whether she wanted to tell Lei or herself. In her previous life, it was Xiaoman who helped her and her mother to be freed. It was even very possible that she was reborn with Xiaoman's help. Since her rebirth, she has been able to get to where she is today step by step, thanks to Xiaoman's existence. Xiaoman is no longer as simple as an ordinary weapon to her. Now someone came to tell her that Xiaoman was very dangerous and might even threaten the entire Thunder base. How could she accept this? Brother, Xiaoman is my spiritual pet, I will take good care of him. After steadying his mind, Len Ning raised his head again and said to Lei. Lei frowned slightly. In addition, the information also said that Xiaoman's juice has the effect of stimulating the potential of animals. Thunder base needs Xiaoman, Len Ning continued. Lei still looked solemn. Hey, brother, don't worry. My wood mutation type is not a vegetarian. No matter whether Xiaoman is a sky-swallowing vine or not, as long as it is my wood spiritual pet, it can only obey my orders. A smile appeared on Ning's face. Lei finally put away the solemn expression on his face. If you find anything wrong, let me know in time, then he said in a deep voice. He didn't want Xiaoning to take this risk, but he couldn't interfere with Xiaoning's decision. Next, regarding the information about the sky-swallowing vine, the statement from the laboratory is indeed just speculation. After all, the sky-swallowing vine only existed in prehistory, so it is indeed difficult to determine whether the information is accurate. He could see that Xiaoning wanted to do a career. But without Xiaoman, she was destined to be unable to do many things. What's more, he also knew that Xiaoman was more than just a weapon to Xiaoning. Forget it, just let Xiaoning go. If something happened, he would still be there. Well, I won't be polite to you. Len Ning suddenly had a smile on his face. At this moment, my heart also relaxed. Then, Len Ning continued to look through the documents. The information says that Xiaoman's juice is more effective when taken internally than when applied externally, and the dosage is very small, Len Ning said to Lei while reading the document. During this time, she has been providing Xiaoman's juice for external application to the wood-type superpowers in the vegetable base. Yesterday, she successfully promoted a second-level peak superpower to the 3rd level. This is enough to prove the effect of Xiaoman juice. She did not let them take it internally because she was afraid that it would be unsafe to take it internally and the juice tasted bad. Now that the laboratory has come to a conclusion, it is natural to improve the plan. Fortunately, the dosage for oral administration is very small, so it can benefit more people with supernatural powers. After all, in the past, because the amount of juice that Xiaoman could produce every day was limited, even the wood superpowers at the vegetable base could only get a little bit. After reducing the dosage, the problem of more monks and less rice can be alleviated a lot. Yes. Xiaoman is your spiritual pet. You can decide on your own about the juice, Lei Lei said solemnly.